My name is Shauna Jackson, and I'll be your host today. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Alrighty, so to tell you a little bit about the show, SWWLS Speak Your Truth is a podcast that is hosted by myself, Zen and Paper Girl. I am a volunteer and spokesperson for our Houston chapter of Society of Women Who Love Shoes, which is what SWWLS stands for. The Society of Women Who Love Shoes is a 501c3 charity that supports victims of domestic violence, or as we like to say, survivors of domestic violence, by finding gently worn shoes, but also clothes, furniture items, vehicles, shelter, homes, basically anything that a person or family would need to start over. Our founder's name is Diane Samoff, and she is a survivor of domestic violence and abuse. And she stole away in the middle of the night from her home and ventured to Texas alone as a single mother to create and give her children a better life. And in the midst of that transition, a woman gave her a pair of shoes, and those shoes changed her life. As we all know, women love shoes. We love shoes. And it's almost a culture that a really good shoe is therapy. A really good shoe can make you feel better than you were before you put them on your feet. A pair of shoes is magical. And the way they made her feel in that moment, she wanted to be able to share that with not only other women, but other survivors. And so here we are, many, many years later. We support families and victims of domestic violence through our social events, such as costume parties, formal galas, and cocktail networking events where society people, professionals can come together in a space and give. Our events are so cool that not only can you bring your financial donations, but you can actually bring your charitable items, such as the items we listed earlier, to our events. And we will find shelters and programs that will take those clothes items and get them to people and families that need them. So you can find us on the web at societyofwomenwholoveshoes.org. You can find us on social media, same, Society of Women Who Love Shoes. There's also my chapter here in Houston, which is SWWLS Houston, which you can find me on Instagram. My personal blog is Zen and Paper Girl, and Ms. Jack Zen, like Zen, so JAXZEN, MZJAXZEN. And our podcast is a platform in which we allow our guests to come on and tell their story. And it is a safe space for them to get it all out, with the hopes that they will help another person, encourage another person or persons with their story of survival and how they're thriving. And our guest today, her name is April. And April is a beautiful woman who has been nice enough and courageous enough to join us on the podcast today. And while she is logging in, hi, beautiful.
Hi, how are you?
I am wonderful. I was just taking a moment to introduce our audience to you. And I would love for you to complete the rest of that, if you don't mind. Tell
Sure.
us a little bit about who you are and where you are.
Okay, so my name is April Green. I am a survivor of complex trauma for over a decade. Um, Sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, neglect, starvation, and it was for many years. So I've overcome that, and I'm now an energy healer, and I help other people who have experienced trauma heal from the inside out. That's often the hardest place. We have a tendency to run or hide. I did for many years. I'm in Tyler, Texas, and my company name is the Agape Wellness.
The Agape Wellness.
Mm-hmm.
For people that don't know what agape stands for, what does agape mean?
Just God's love.
Mm-hmm.
God's love, unconditional love for yourself and for others. So
Yeah.
healing from body, mind, and spirit, all together, one in unison, unity. Um, that's that's how I got the inspiration. Um,
Yes.
I
I told you I checked you out a little bit on Instagram, right?
yes, you're stalking.
Oh, yes, it's stalking just a little bit. Yeah, the nice way of saying, they say vetting, but really it's just stalking. Let's just
Right,
be real, right?
Yeah.
But what's funny is that I saw that you were an energy healer, and I also saw that the name of your company was Agape Wellness, and I am a empath,
Mm,
and my gift is actually to help people find what is blocking them and help them heal. So from the
mm.
inside out as well.
Right, right.
And you don't meet a whole lot of Christian
Yes,
energy people. Uh,
right.
and so that that in itself made me go, I want to talk to this person because I am a psychic Christian. And I guess in the church they would, call you like a seer or a
Right,
prophetess, or I don't know what labels they
right,
give
right.
themselves. But there was never a section in there for me. Nothing covered that. And
Yeah.
so much like most women and people and survivors, you find your way to something like this because of where you came from,
Right,
right?
right.
So tell me, how did April, the victim, become April, the energy healer? Where did your story start?
So I would say it started with victim. I think a lot of people who experience trauma automatically go to victim, and you get stuck with that victim mindset right off the bat, which is not healthy, because then it's poor me, poor me, poor me, where survivor is, I went through something traumatic, I've overcome it, and I'm still living, surviving, and it's not holding me back. Where victim is, that's the only thing you think about. It overtakes your mind, your body, your soul. I mean, it's just replaying over and over and over in your mind. And survivors like, okay, I dealt with that, I did it, and I overcame it, and I'm moving on. I could say for being a Christian, I have the exact same feelings. Um, and I wish I would have looked up the scripture, but there is a scripture that talks about gifts. Everybody has their own gift.
Mm-hmm.
And, but the Bible always talks about your testimony, how, you go through things, your ashes will be given for glory. And what was your test will become your testimony. And for me, um, it was hard. It was a confliction within myself. It was very deep and very conflicting because I knew I had these gifts. I knew I'm an empath like you, but I can't see the blocks. Instead, I feel the pain. I feel the emotions, the trauma. I can tap into someone and feel their physical pain, their mental pain, their mental anguish, and release those things and be able to heal that way. But just like our fingerprint, God gives us gifts. We all have gifts. But society has made us change who we are and how we think about those things to fit their mold, to be the human mold, where God is an energetic being with power, and he's everywhere and everything and always around us.
Mhm.
We come from him. We are part of him. So I think we get stuck in the human life view or perspective, and we don't look at God as an energy being, and so am I. Like,
Yeah.
this human body is a shell. When we leave, our soul is going to go to heaven. And we don't look at the energetic aspects of who we are very often. And so I mean, that's how I was able to overcome my trauma, and who I was as a person was to look at, okay, there has to be more to this than just the trauma. There has to be more to who I am besides this body that was abused. And as soon as I did that switch, that's when everything changed.
So let's go back.
Okay.
Tell me about the abuse.
So my abuse started when my parents got divorced. I was 5, and my mom had fallen in love with someone else and took off with him, while she was still married to my dad. Um, and you know, divorce is already traumatic, right? But then you couple that or couple it with trauma, and it was even double traumatic for me. I remember the day very vividly. It was, I had just got a new swing set. My dad had just put it in the ground, and I was so excited to swing on the swing set. And I remember fighting my mom to not leave to get in the car. Like, I was clinging to the swing set because I
Um,
wanted to play on it, and I remember it so vividly. Um, so fast forward a little bit. I mean, I was in that situation until I was 13.
and
And
this was with your mom and new husband,
right, mom and new husband, yes.
and the
Um,
abuse was from your stepfather.
yes, stepfather. And he was abusive to my mom as well, physically abusive to her, physically abusive to me, emotionally. So we were in it together. But
So
the
this was
sexual,
like spankings that got out of control, or this was like punch you in the face,
oh yeah, like
like
in the face, kick you in the face, tie you naked to a bed and beat you with a cable cord, hands, feet tied. Like, it was very abusive.
I mean, abuse has no, it's not, uh, it doesn't discriminate,
No,
and
no.
that's one of the reasons that we also part of our charity is called the Power of Shoes, and it's
Mhm,
or I'm sorry, my storybook shoes, and my
mhm,
storybook shoes is for childhood abuse.
mhm,
And so a lot of people don't know, just in case you guys don't know,
mhm,
April is Child Abuse Prevention Month.
mhm.
So we're gearing up for that next month for my storybook shoes. So
Oh, awesome.
um, so
Yes.
I just wanted you to know that we also specifically focus on children in those type of situations. So that's why I asked what type of abuse that was.
Yeah. Yes, a child, very child. And that's one of my passions, something that I'm very drawn to, something that will always have a place in my heart because, being a child of abuse, you look at your parent for protection, for guidance, for strength. And when that's gone, um, it messes you up for life. I mean, it really messes you up because you never have trust of anyone, much less adults.
Yeah, I think I heard Oprah say it the best. Whoever you were going to be,
Mhm.
that person is gone. Like
Right,
they didn't have a chance.
right. Well, and that's why I specifically mentioned complex trauma, because complex trauma is where it's at such a young age and it's so long term. I don't think a lot of people understand the differences in trauma. So PTSD is short term,
Okay.
one or two, maybe three times, where complex trauma is consistently daily for a long period of time.
Oh, wow.
And when you deal with complex trauma the way I did, it changes who you are, not only emotionally and mentally, but it changes your brain structure. Like there's two parts of the brain that do not, the frontal lobes do not develop. So for me,
Mm.
memories aren't chronological. A lot of people remember when I was 3, it was like this. When I was 4, it was like this, and 5 and 6 and 7. My brain doesn't work that way. It's like I get flashes of memories, and it's never in chronological order. It's always, um, you know, like I have one from 5. I have a few from 12. I think I have one at 8 or 9. So, and there's like a lot of blank black spaces.
Do you
And
think that's from the brain just doing its best to preserve
uh,
because of the trauma? I mean, like, so you just have
right.
moments of that you don't because you can't like what would happen if you could remember those things?
Yeah, probably it probably wouldn't be good. But it's like that even for after the trauma. Like after the trauma, like my brain just doesn't remember things chronologically the way it should. I have to really write down, okay, what year was that? How old was I? Where was I living? I have to really think about those three things to try to narrow down a memory. It doesn't just remember the
Hmm.
way other people remember. There's a lot to complex trauma. Not only that, the
That's
trauma,
an actual term.
yes, complex
I
trauma
think
is
you've already literally mind blown. There's gonna be
actually.
people like I've never heard that term, and there's gonna be people that go, "Oh my God, there's that's me." Like,
Right. Oh, absolutely. It's a term. There is a specific type of healing that needs to happen for people that have experienced that. It's not like normal, oh, I went through a divorce, let me go see a counselor. Like you need a counselor that has the specialty complex trauma because they work specifically with the nervous system. I mean, the nervous system holds all of your trauma. The amygdala in your brain holds the trauma. And I'm just saying this as
mhm.
an energy healer because those are the things that I look at when I know that somebody has experienced the same type of trauma
Work
I
with you. Yeah.
have. The nervous system will hold it. And there's actually this really cool documentary on Netflix called The Mind Explained, and they
Oh, I've
really
seen that.
it's so cool.
So good. Yeah.
They get into a lot about anxiety, trauma, and why we do some of the things we do and where it's stored in the brain.
Mhm.
I'm super fascinated with that just because as an energy healer, I need to know where to look for the trauma so I can
Mhm.
release it. And so it's amazing. I really love
So
that
you
show.
said this was from 5 to 13.
Right, 5 to 13. Mm-hmm.
So why 13? What happened?
Well, 13, my mom finally got the courage to call the cops and leave.
Where'd
And
y'all go? And where is it just you?
um,
Only
well,
one
I have a
girl?
brother and sister, but I don't want to talk about their story
No,
like
I'm just asking, meaning like in regard, yeah, and I totally respect it, but I just meant like when you said just you and her, in my mind, I'm thinking, was it more than one that she had to get out of there?
Oh yeah, there was three of us. So I mean, a family of three and a mom.
Gotcha.
And we went to. I immediately went to foster care. I was in foster care for a few years, and when I got out,
Wait. Oh, because she called the police?
yes,
So they removed you from her?
yes.
Like it was an
You have to
endangerment
remember
type of thing?
this was like in the 80s.
Right. No, yeah, no.
Like a little different than today, right? Today
No, I
we
told, and listen, this is a safe space. So
right,
if you hear me ask a question, it really is just for clarity, because just to follow the story a little bit better, because like, okay, well, I don't want people to think, oh, I leave my husband and they're gonna automatically take my kids. You know what I mean?
oh
Like
right.
that's why I'm trying to make sure, like, we don't want people to like think, oh God, well, I don't want that, so I'll just stay. But
Right.
it was
No,
where
no,
like where they thought you were in danger.
yes,
Hmm.
yes. They, well, I specifically said I do not want to be with my mom. I
Hmm.
felt like she did not protect me.
Correct.
Um,
Because it
she
was
didn't,
one thing to have the abuse happening, but when the parent is allowing that abuse to happen to the children,
right.
I mean, I can't imagine.
And I will say that my mom was aware of the abuse. So I felt like if it happened again, she would not protect me. So
Mhm.
at 13, I'm old enough to speak for myself and say, I don't want to go there. I don't feel
Yeah.
safe. So they did remove me.
How
Uh,
was your experience in foster home?
I actually liked my foster home.
That's why
My
I asked.
foster home was my hope.
Hmm.
And when you've been abused as long as you have, and you think that this is it, this is going to be my life forever, this is what God put me on earth for, and you just go to this very dark, deep place that has no light, no hope, no joy. And going with my foster parents gave me that hope and light and joy. They were Christians. They took me to church. They were educated, had a nice house. One was a dentist,
This
and I
is so good, because this is a completely different, like you literally, like I felt like my lungs filled up with air.
yeah,
Like I literally feel like this is the first time like you breathe normal. Like literally, this is a
right.
great memory for you.
Oh yes, like I actually had a Christmas. I had toys. I didn't have to do anything. I wasn't pressured to do anything other than be a kid.
Yeah,
And
no
you
stress.
know, we were extremely poor when I was living with my mom and my stepdad. So food was a scarcity. Um, there wasn't really any interaction. There wasn't anything fun. We never had any toys. Like it was just very dark. And so to go to the complete opposite, where it's a two-story house, you have stairs, and we never had stairs. Just sliding down those was like, oh my God, so much fun. And then to have an actual Christmas tree and presents was like, oh my gosh, I never want to go anywhere but here. And
Were there other children in the foster home with you?
there were, I don't really remember them. I know it's kind of hard to say, but I don't remember who was in the house. I just remember my experience and remembering like, this is what I want to do when I grow up. Like, I want to be wealthy, I want to be stable, and I want to help kids who have been abused when I get older.
Isn't it great what happens when a child is exposed? That's the thing. You had never been
Right,
exposed to it, you know.
right, right.
And this also, if there's anybody out there struggling as a young adult listening to this podcast, and
Yeah.
you are scared to, I'm actually interviewing a young lady next month for child abuse prevention, who is a teenage survivor,
Mm-hmm.
and she was able to do exactly what you did, April, and that is tell the police that this is not an okay situation and I don't want to be here. And she's had an amazing
Yeah.
experience. And
Yeah.
so those kids out there and young adults that think that foster, that's what they depict on TV, is that it's horrible and you're going to have more abuse than you
Right.
had when you were, and it's not the case. There are families out there that want to help,
Yes.
you
That
know.
truly have a heart for it.
Yeah.
Um, I can't imagine the heart that they have to do that type of work.
Yeah.
You,
Especially
uh,
because you went in as 13. And that's another thing that, they don't take the teenagers.
right, right.
Yeah.
No, they did take me, and I mean, they gave me all the hope that I could ever ask or imagine. And they gave me so much love. I mean, they were just there for me and listened and were supportive and weren't judgmental. I think that's another part of being in an abusive environment is when you come out, people look at you and judge you, and it's like, even sometimes I would feel like it's my fault that the abuse happened. The questions I would be given was like, well, what did you do to provoke that? Or why? Like, I don't know. Why are you asking me?
That's a crazy question. Yeah.
So, or humiliation and judgment that is given. I mean, you already feel that yourself, but then to have social workers and attorneys, and I had to go on the stand for my case, and tell my story, publicly and on the record, and to be cross-examined by the lawyer as his defense to try to insinuate that I wanted it, or I provoked it, or I asked for it, was
Hmm.
very hurtful and very demeaning, demoralizing, because I just got out of the situation and there's this man who's looking at me, with all the hate that he could possibly muster, and you're defending him, and I'm like, how could you even? What kind of soul do you have to defend someone? So that was very traumatic, and you take all that on as a person, especially I did as a child. I started taking that on. We all are adults and I'm a kid, and well, if you're asking me, then I was like, well, did I really do that? Was there something I could have done different? Is there something I could have done to prevent this? Did I do something that I wasn't aware of that, made it worse, that I could have changed? Um, so I went through that whole thought process as well.
Wow. So you mentioned, okay, so you're in the foster home and you go into court to tell your part of the story for your case. How old were you then?
I think it was between 13 and 13 and a half, 14, somewhere in there.
So it's
13.
pretty close to when you left home.
Yes.
Okay.
It was a few months. I mean, I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't remember exactly the dates, but it wasn't very long after. But he did get put away for a very long time.
Oh, wonderful. Really?
Yeah.
So mom also spoke against him.
I don't really know about that because I was so young, and
Was
you know,
she before during
they kind
the
of
proceedings?
I don't remember.
It's okay.
I don't remember. I just remember, they put me in this room and I was by myself, and then they brought me out to speak, and then they took me right back. So it was
And that's
like,
and that's exactly why I'm asking, because sometimes they will remove the person. Now, was he there when you spoke?
he was there. He was
Yes.
there when I spoke.
Sometimes they remove people from the courtroom, especially when you're a minor. So that's why I was asking if she was.
Yeah, I don't remember. I was so focused on, his promises when I was a kid. He used to tell me, if you say anything, I'm going to kill you. If you say anything, I'm
Right.
going to kill your family.
Fear.
If you say anything, I won't come and find you. So that was playing around in my head, and I was just shaking like a leaf. I was so scared and so worried, and you know, the police and our attorney, who was prosecuting him, just kept saying, "We're going to keep you safe. We're going to keep you safe." But when you're a survivor of trauma and
Was this
an
sexual
adult
abuse as well, April?
huh?
Was it sexual abuse as well?
Yes, yes.
I'm so sorry.
It was all of it. Any type of abuse you could figure out, that's what I experienced.
My God.
Um,
I had a feeling when you said because your mom knew, I had a feeling you weren't talking about just the physical, but now
yeah,
hearing how it went down in court, I'm like, man, this sounds like, yeah, that's complex.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't anything that he didn't check a box on.
No, no, he got them all, and he went down the list like A plus superstar. But when the abuse first started happening, all I could hear was his words: I will kill your mom, I will kill your
Oh,
family,
absolutely.
I will come hunt you down. There's nowhere you can go and hide. I'll kill you.
And
And
the fact that you had enough courage, I'm gonna like, you know how hard that is. Like, because you did it, right?
right,
The fact that you at 13, almost 14 years old, you were able to walk into a courtroom and say, yeah, that's him. This is what happened. Like, just that in itself, like, you deserve like a medal of gold, like, just like
thank
Purple Heart.
I mean, the only thing that I kept thinking was, if I don't do this, he will do it to someone else. And
Amen.
I couldn't I couldn't handle the guilt of allowing that to happen to someone else.
That's a so
So,
fun. Yeah, you're an empath. It's like that's not like just the nor you know what I mean? Like to think outside of that spectrum,
right, right.
that's special.
Yeah. I was totally thinking like, I don't know who else he's going to run into, but there's a chance that he could do this
Yeah.
to someone else. And even when I was on the stand and giving my testimony, I mean, he was so pissed off. He stood up and was like, I'm going to come find you. I will kill you,
Oh my God.
in the courtroom. And
Are
from
you
that,
serious?
yeah, from that,
God,
from that moment, I was like, okay, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready. If you ever come, I'm
that's
going to
right.
be ready.
That's
Like, I have
right.
my concealed handgun license. I know how to mess with knives.
Yes, ma'am.
I've taken MMA. I'm a black belt. Like,
Wow.
come if you want. Yeah. After that, I took every self-defense course I could find. Jiu-jitsu, MMA,
Wow.
kickboxing, boxing, anything I could do to feel comfortable with being able to protect
Yeah,
myself.
absolutely.
I was down,
Wow.
definitely down. So, um,
So, how long were you in foster care?
um, I don't really know. I'll say like 2 years.
Okay.
Like I said, I had those,
Same family.
yes, same family,
God, that's a blessing.
same family. And then I was put back with my mom,
Mhm.
and she was struggling at that time. So I went from had my own room to a house to, we were in a battered women's shelter.
Wow.
And so we went to that, and then we ended up in a trailer.
And
Trailer
if
park.
you're, and I'm imagining if you are pulled from the home, this would mean that she met all of the criteria to get you back, which is what she wanted.
Correct. Oh
She
yeah,
wanted,
my mom had to work
right,
to get me back. It
get you
wasn't
back.
just like, okay, we're gonna let you go back, because I was very adamant about, like, I never want to go
Right,
back home again. Um,
absolutely.
and I did end up going back. I stayed with my mom. And then when I was 15, 16, 15, I was raped with my oldest daughter. Um, and I ended up having her at 16.
Wait, your oldest daughter now
My oldest daughter now.
was conceived from
Yeah,
rape.
Yeah.
So this happened. So was this like random? Like,
That concludes this episode of SWWLS Speak Your Truth. I know, it was getting so good. April and I actually spoke for a very long time, and I want to give everyone the opportunity to hear her story of survival and how she's thriving. In the meantime, if you want to know more about our charity, you can visit www.societyofwomenwholoveshoes.org. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you would like to visit my particular or specific chapter, you can find us under SWWLS Houston on Instagram and Facebook. If you would like to find out more about our founder, her name is Diane Kelly Samoff. You can find her on Facebook as well as Instagram. If you would like to hear more about my personal blog, you can find me on Instagram, Zen and Paper Girl, or on WordPress under Zen and Paper Girl. We are so excited about this platform and our listeners and the survivors or people that are actually in those situations currently that may hear this podcast and find hope or find a way out. We hope that these stories inspire you, not make you sad, educate you, and give you strength and confidence. That's what the hope is. And so we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for your time and listening. And we are working on getting a Clubhouse membership started. So stay tuned for that. Any events that we have, we will post on our social media pages to let you know what's going on and where we are. If you would like to donate, if you would like to volunteer, please reach out to myself or again, Diane Kelly Samoff. You can find our emails and website information on our social media pages, as well as our actual website. My name is Shauna Jackson, your host, and I look forward to this experience and sharing it with you in the future. So until next week, I am love, I am light, and so are you. Okay, folks, and there you have it. Again, thank you, April, for being such a wonderful guest for us tonight. And if you would like to find out more about the charity, you can go to Society of Women Who Love Shoes.org. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to go to the specific chapter that I am in, which is SWWLS Houston, you can find myself on Facebook under Shauna Jackson or Zen and Paper Girl. You can find our founder, Diane Kelly Samoff, also on Facebook. Any of our events, as said earlier, we will post online, and we will see you back here in another week or two. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening. Please share and like. Have a good night.